Hey there, Amanda from the Happy Homestead here. Today we're going to do a follow-up on the carrots that I root cellared without actually having a root cellar, and then we're actually going to make some fermented carrot sticks, kind of like pickles but with carrots, and we're going to do two different flavors. So first, I have a large 5-gallon bucket here that I've been keeping in the garage. Now I keep going back and forth between 20 pounds or 25 pounds. I think it was 25 pounds of carrots for 25 bucks or 20 pounds of carrots for 20 bucks. I forget which it was, but I got them from Azure Standard. They're organic and they were beautiful long carrots. And I bought them in the beginning of December of 2020. So almost 3 months ago now. And I have kept them in this bucket with some really clean organic dirt. And I was root cellaring them just as if we had a root cellar. So I did a 30-day checkup, and I will link to that so you can see that. I hadn't done a 60-day checkup because life, just life with kids and a job and life responsibilities. But we're gonna do a 90-day checkup today, and then we're gonna do some fermented carrots. So let's open this and see what we got. Okay, I see some sprouting. Oh, here's a sprout that I must have broke off when I took a carrot. So I have pulled from here, but you can see, look, like here's one that's, oh, that broke off. Oh, but here's one, look at this one. So we've got a little hair growing on it, but overall, look how clean that looks. So I'm just gonna put these in my sink, my colander here, because we are going to rinse those out for our fermented carrots. I'm just going to dig through. Here's another one. So yeah, we've got some hair, but really they look great. Now like I said, I did this 3 months ago. I would absolutely do this again. I don't know if I'd be able to get away with doing this during the summer months in our garage, but I may try. So I did it over the winter. Oh, here's one. Oh yeah, okay. So here's one carrot that's got, looks like might be dirt in the camera, but really it's got kind of a rotten top there. So I'm just gonna cut that off. So that's the first kind of rotting I have seen since I have done this. Oh, okay, here's another one. Not so much rotting, but a little mold. Nothing that can't be washed and or cut off. Oh, this one's beautiful. So we're gonna do 2 quarts of fermented carrots. And you really want, I'm gonna do wide mouth quarts, and you really wanna pack the jars full because the carrots, as they absorb some of the liquid, they will shrink down in size. That's a good one. So I am gonna do, I'm gonna probably get 3 more carrots. Now I probably still, here's a little bit more of a rotten one that's going rotten. So again, we'll cut that off. But overall, I mean, really, I'm impressed. I don't know if I could keep carrots in my refrigerator for 90 days without having anything go wrong. Oh, here's another one. Okay, I think I got enough carrots, but I kind of just want to search through. So I'm getting kind of deep down in here. I mean, I'm probably about 1/3 of the way through. So we've got some sprouting. But overall, things look good. Okay, so I'm just going to keep these covered up. Now, again, the soil is a little damp. I don't think I need to add any more moisture here. The soil is a little damp. I'm going to keep it that way. And we'll check again in another 30 days or so. But let's close this up, wash our carrots, and start the fermenting process. have all my carrots washed. I am just gonna chop off some of those rotten tops and the ends. I'm also gonna peel some of these carrots. I normally wouldn't do that, but I just wanna be sure that I don't have any other competing bacteria during my ferment. I have peeled all of the carrots and trimmed both ends off. Looking at these carrots, you never would have known they were in the garage in a pile of dirt for 90 days. You never would have known. They look so great. They look beautiful. Now, I would not necessarily have peeled them if I had just bought store-bought carrots that were in a bag, right? Plastic bag as if they are. I would have washed them thoroughly, but I don't know if I would have peeled them. The reason I peeled these is because bacteria does live on the skin of all fruits and vegetables. It's just natural and normal. And not all of it is bad for us, but that's why we wash our fruits and veggies before we eat them. But because they were in the dirt, right? There's all kinds of things in the dirt. I just wanted to be sure, not necessarily that I wasn't hurting myself or my family, but that I have a successful ferment. So that is why I peeled them. Now, you want to make sure, like I said, I'm using 2 quart mason jars, and I'm using wide mouth because you want to make sure you can really stuff those carrots in. We're going to chop these up into carrot sticks, but you can see some of these carrots are going to be too tall for the jar. Maybe you can see that. So I need to make sure that I'm chopping my carrots, first of all, to a length that works for the jar, right? Because this isn't gonna work. I need to make sure I can put the lid on, I can weight it down, because with any ferment, you want your solids to be below the liquid line. Now, the first, so I just want to make sure I'm really laying this out step by step so it's easy to understand. Carrots are prepped. I just need to chop them to the right size and then chop them in sticks. But before I do that, I have 4 cups of filtered water. So for every 4 cups of water, and essentially 1 quart is 4 cups. Now, we're not going to be able to fit 4 cups in because of just water displacement, right? The carrots are going to take up some room and then we'll fill in the water around it. But for every 4 cups of water, you're going to want 3 tablespoons of sea salt. You want to use a fine sea salt, not like a kosher salt or really coarse ground, because you need the salt to dissolve. So I'm going to start that now so that while I'm chopping, the salt is dissolving. So I have a pink Himalayan sea salt. I am going to take 3 tablespoons and put it in my 4 cups of water. I may need more water, right? I might, so I just need to be prepared for that. But we're going to start with 4 for now. I'm just going to stir that up and set it aside so we can hopefully let that salt dissolve. Now, let's go ahead and chop our carrots. Now, I'm just going to kind of shove some in here that I know are the correct length and will fit without any issues. Right? There's only a few that are longer. That one is... Okay, so these are a little long. So with the ends that I cut off, and I'm going to say this one, I'm going to save the ends I cut off because they can just be used in any sort of recipe over the next day or two. I'm going to use this as my guide so that I'm going to cut all of them to this length. Now, fermented carrots are so delicious. I've recently discovered these within the last few months, and I make them all the time now. My children love them. They think it's like a nice little treat, right? Again, it's kind of like a pickle, but a little bit different. So we're going to save those ends for something else. Okay, so we now have all of our carrots the right length. I am now going to chop them into matchsticks. So I shouldn't have said matchsticks. I'm just chopping them into sticks. So like for this carrot, I cut it in 4s. I think I might cut these 2 bigger pieces again. You don't want them to be too flimsy because remember they're gonna get soaked in a liquid and you don't want them, you want them to still have some sort of crisp. Some of these smaller ones I can just do in quarters. And these bigger ones, I'll probably cut the halves into 3rds. Yeah, that's perfect. Now they're gonna ferment on your counter for about a week. It's really up to your taste and your liking. I like to do it for almost a full week. It gives it that really nice tang, and then the flavors of whatever flavors you're doing really impart into the carrots. So it's like I was mentioning, it's just another great way to get some good probiotics and vegetables into your family. My kids have no idea how healthy these are for them, but they're full of probiotics. Because that's what fermenting does, right? It's like a lacto fermentation. This one does not want to cut. There we go. So the 2 flavors that we're going to be doing today, one is dill, just a regular old dill, as if it were a dill pickle. The other one, I like to do a little bit more heat. And that's going to have ginger, hot red pepper, lime zest. And this doesn't take much time at all. I mean, really, the longest part is the fermentation, and that just sits on your counter. All right, so we have all of our carrots chopped correctly. Now, what I'm going to do is fill my jars. I'm not with these yet, but with the spices and then the carrots. So let's start with the dill first. I've got some organic dill seed. And really, you just kind of winging it. It's really up to your preference. But for this one, I'm going to do 1 teaspoon dill seed. I'm going to do 2 bay leaves, 1 crushed clove of garlic, and I think that's it. Yes, that's it for that one. So now I'm going to pack this tightly with my carrot sticks. And you wanted to put all of the spices at the bottom because if you try to put them at the top, they may actually not stay below the liquid line. And then that's when mold and everything can kind of creep in. You want everything, so this way the carrots really pack everything down at the bottom. Now some of those dill seeds most likely will come up, and I'm not going to worry about that, but I just don't want there to be too much floating up top. And when you pack the carrots in, you're really preventing them from floating. But we have some fermentation weights that we will be adding in as well. All right, but just one step at a time. Get your carrots packed in. All right, I don't want to make sure I have enough for the next one. So let's go ahead and get this one done. This is going to be the spicy one. So I've got some dehydrated Thai chilies that we grew, and I am going to put 3 of them in. I am going to put 1 clove of crushed garlic. I've got some ginger, peeled and chopped ginger. Now the ginger is not minced, right? Because again, you do not want the pieces to come up. So I just put that in. I do have also 2 bay leaves from the garden. And I have some lime skin, right? Some lime zest. It's not zested like you would traditionally zest. It's just the peel cut off of the lime. Throw that in, and then I've got some whole peppercorns. I'm just gonna put a couple of them in also. All right, and now let's put our carrots in. We eat these as snacks. We'll eat them as an accompaniment to a meal. I put them in my kids' lunches. Okay, so I am gonna need more carrots, I can see. Yeah, I am gonna go grab 2, probably 3 more carrots from my bucket and get them prepped. All right, so let's go stuffing in here a little bit more. You'll be surprised how much you can actually get in, by the way. I'm gonna try to get all of these in. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I'm gonna try. It's almost like a game of Tetris here. And then when it's all done, you feel so satisfied knowing that you got all these in. Oh, that was the short one. Check that out. I did it. I did it. Okay, so you'll note, I mean, they are tightly packed in, right? We've got all the spices on the bottom. We do have some room at the top to make sure we have a good liquid water line covering everything, because that is important. Now, when I do weighted with fermentation, right, so here's the, let me show some of the tools that I've got before we start pouring that in. These are fermentation weights. They are just glass weights. You can buy them on Amazon. In fact, I'll have a link down in the show notes. And they actually, I like these because they have a little divot in the middle so you can actually pick it up. And so what you'll do is we'll pour the liquid on, and then we'll put the weight on, and then we'll put the lid on. But you can see that it doesn't quite fit right now to put the lid on with the weight. So what I have found with fermenting carrots is I actually don't put the weight on until the next day or the next 2 days. I come back and I check, because like I said, these are going to soften up, and then you'll be able to shove this in and really get them good. But I'm not going to be able to put the weight on today. But with any type of fermentation, whether it be sauerkraut or kimchi, right, or even fermented pickles, right, you're always going to be weighting them down to stay below the liquid line. Before I keep going, I wanted to show you 3 ways that you can do fermenting at home as far as the types of tops. So the simplest that most everybody probably has is just a piece of fabric with a ring on top, right? So we're using mason jars, and so the rings come with the jars. And so you're not using the metal lid, right, the canning lid that came with it, you're just using the ring. So this is sourdough. This is my sourdough starter, and which is essentially another fermented product. So all I do for my sourdough is just a piece of fabric and then the ring. So you can do that with your carrots. You don't need to buy any fancy equipment. And even for the weight, you don't have to go buy the weights. You could use some like river rocks. I have done this where I have some river stones and I just wrap them in, I wash them really good, and then I'll wrap them in like a plastic wrap and then shove that in, right, to kind of keep it down. So you don't have to go buy any equipment. If you want, you can also buy these. These are Airlock Lids, and they come in a container like this, and there's a bunch of them in here. I think this actually has 6 of them, and they come in all different colors. And so same principle, right? Because with the fabric, you're allowing air to escape and to come in. Same with the airlocks. This has a tiny little hole here, and you're using your ring, and you're putting this on the jar, so like this. And so you have your liquid in here, you put the airlock on top, and you screw on the ring. And then again, you leave it ferment this way. I have used these airlock lids for years. Just recently, I bought these. This was another kit that came. I think it came with 4 of them, a different type of airlock. So this is just a regular plastic wide mouth lid, and then it comes with all of these little pieces. And so what happens is you put this in this hole. This is going to get screwed on your jar. And then you actually put a little water in here, maybe half full, like not down this hole, but in here. And I'll show this to you in a little bit. And then you shove this on top. And what that does is it allows the gases to escape without letting any other bacteria come in. So I've actually found that I have had more success fermenting with the fabric and these over these. I couldn't tell you the science behind that. I have had success with these, but I don't use them as often now. I use really the fabric, or I use these. And then you put this on top, and you just every now and then need to check the water, because what will happen is you'll see the fermenting happening in the bubbling. And so this thing in here will start to rise a little bit, and you actually might get some spillage over of the liquid in here. So you just then take this off, clean it out, put in clean water, and go back in. But this is what I'll be doing for my carrots today. Okay, so we have our spices in. Our carrots are firmly packed. Our water has had plenty of time to have most of that salt dissolve. Don't stress out if it's not all dissolved. It's okay, it's no big deal. All right, so now we're gonna pour our salt water in, and we're gonna go to just above the carrot line here. Again, the goal is to have everything submerged. Perfect. Okay, so they are ready to go. I'm going to put on my plastic lid here. I'm going to put this on. Now I've got some clean water in this jar, and so I'm just going to show you. Put a little in here. Okay, so it's about half full. Put that on, and then the top. Okay, and that's it. So we're gonna leave this on the counter. You wanna leave it, it doesn't have to be in a totally dark place, but you don't wanna leave it in the sun. So I'm just gonna put it in the back of my counter. Let's do the other one now. Now that took about 1.5 cups water, so I actually do have plenty of salt water here left for the next batch. Okay, good. So you actually have some salt water left over. And put our lid on. Some clean water. And again, put that in the back of the corner of the counter. That's it. It's so easy. Now, I'm gonna come back in a day or two and I'll show you how it should start looking over the process. But really the first day or two, you may not see too much, but eventually you'll start seeing little air bubbles, and that's the fermenting process happening come up. And again, you just want to make sure you keep an eye here, making sure the water level isn't getting too high and it's overflowing, because sometimes that happens. Tomorrow or the next day, again, I'll show you, I'm gonna check here to make sure my carrots are still under the salt water, and if they're really pliable enough, I'm gonna put my weight on to really be sure and keep them down. So I'll check back in a day or two and show you how it should be looking. Okay, so it's been 24 hours. So let's open the tops and see to make sure our carrots are still submerged. Okay, so I've got my weights. Everything here still looks good, right? Our water line is still good. It's nice and clear. But, oh, I don't know if you can see this. Some of the water, the liquid, the salt water is actually coming up. So that happens from time to time where this is going to start coming up, and that's how this kind of bubbles over and explodes a little bit, and but it leaks out. So you just have to every now and then take this off, clean it out, and you might have to get rid of some of the liquid in here. Let's open this. The weight will actually might help too. So everything still looks pretty good, pretty submerged. We still have a little carrot peeking up, and you know, there's the dill seeds. But we are gonna go ahead and put, all right, I can tell that's gonna make a mess. I am gonna put this in a bowl and do it, because you're gonna see some of the salt water come out. That's okay. I just want to keep everything submerged. So you can see the carrots are a little bit more pliable, so I can get that weight down in there. Okay. Put this back on, and I'm going to clean that up before I put it back for storage. Number 2. Carrots are still very well submerged, but we're going to put the weight on. Yep, I'm going to need another jar or bowl. So let's put this on. Alright, and get some of our liquid out and get that weight down there. Perfect. So you'll want to check to make sure everything is submerged. You can check every day, every other day. Sometimes you can just check by looking at the line level here. But what I am going to do every day is just kind of turn my jars and see if I see any bubbles come up. So we'll check again in another day. Okay, so today is the second day after we began the process, right? So the first thing I'm noticing is I see some liquid has seeped out up here. I'm just gonna catch that up with a towel. I could open it up, but I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna seep that up. Okay, I don't even need to open them because I can tell by looking at them that the carrots are below the liquid line, right? And that's because the weight is in there, keeping them down. Okay, so today is day 3, and so a couple of things I'm noticing. So first and foremost, both of them have some of the liquid seeping out on top. And if you can see in both of the valves, the liquid is a little more cloudy. It's not as clear. So what's happening is some of this salt water is actually bubbling up in here. So it's very normal. It happens, but what we're going to do is take these off, rinse them out, and put clean water in. Yeah, so don't be alarmed if you see that happen, because it's actually fairly common. Okay, so now those are cleaned up. Day 4. Our liquid here is cloudy again, and we've got some seepage. So I'm gonna do the same exact thing I did yesterday here too. I don't have too much seepage here, but the water is cloudy. And again, all that means is that some of this salt brine it's bubbling up, it's coming up. That means the fermentation process is working. Today's day 7. I don't have a video for you for day 5 and 6. Life got in the way. I'll tell you though, because they were on the counter, I would just glance at them throughout the day, and I haven't done anything. So I'm going to show you what they look like. On day 5 and 6, there was no more seepage or leakage of the brine. With the dill carrots, you can see the level here has gotten a lot higher, right? We started out down here and it's gotten a lot higher. It seems like whenever my face is in the camera, it focuses on that. So bear with me. So what I'm gonna do, because it is day 7, I'm actually gonna open this. I will clean this out if I need to ferment more, but I'm gonna taste one and see if I like it, right? So as far as fermenting, it's really about your taste. It's not about it being unsafe and then crossing a safe threshold, or it being safe and then crossing an unsafe threshold. As long as you're not seeing any mold, it's really about your taste preference. Now, the longer they ferment, the tangier they're gonna get, kind of like that tang if you've ever had like a cultured sauerkraut or any other fermented food. It's really about that and the amount of probiotics in it. But let's open these and see how they taste. Okay, so I took the lid off the spicy one. It's very crusty and salty on the outside. Like I can tell it had some seepage just over the week. So it's all under the brine. Just gonna take one out and taste it. That was good. It was good. So I took the carrot into 2 bites. The first bite, I thought, yeah, this is good. I didn't really taste the heat too much, but it was delicious. It was tangy. It still had a little bit of crunch. And then the second bite I took, I was like, these could probably ferment for a couple of days longer. So I'm actually gonna clean this up and ferment it for probably 2 to 3 more days, just to get the desired taste I want, the consistent desired taste. It's been 10 days on my carrots. They're probably ready. I'm ready for them to be ready. I need to get them off the counter. But let's try. This is the dill one. I can't remember. I can't tell. But it's good. Those are good. Yeah, they are done. So what I'm gonna do, so all I did was take the weight out, right? I don't need to keep the weight in anymore because they're just gonna go into the refrigerator. So I'll wash the weight, wash my airlock valve. I'll just clean up the outside of the jar a little bit. And I'm gonna put just a regular canning lid and ring on. You can also use the plastic lids that go on the mason jars if you have those. But basically you can take the weight off, just put a regular lid on and then throw them in the fridge. That's all you need to do. So the fermentation process doesn't necessarily stop, but it slows down immensely once it's in the refrigerator. So these will store in the fridge for months. They will not last months because you and your family will eat and enjoy them, but they can last months in your refrigerator. I would say probably 6 months. I wouldn't necessarily go longer than 6 months because again, they're in the brine and they're just gonna get more soft. They still have a little crunch right now, but I normally keep them anywhere from 3 to 4 months. They don't last that long in my fridge because we eat them. But you can safely put them in there with a lid and they don't have to stay below the brine. Now don't empty the brine out, right? Keep the brine in them and just put a lid on and store them in the fridge. And now you have your own fermented carrots. They're a great snack, great accompaniment to a salad or any other dish just to add a little different flavor and those probiotics. Now remember, the probiotics are alive. They are good for your gut health. So don't be throwing these carrots in a skillet and then expecting them to give you all the probiotics you need, right? You need to eat them in this raw fermented form. If you're gonna cook carrots, just cook a regular raw carrot, not a fermented carrot. This was one of my favorite things to do with carrots. I hope you will try to ferment your own, and you can do this with other vegetables too. Just experiment and have fun with it. Have fun with your own flavors and what you want to do as far as spices and herbs within the fermentation process. Thank you so much. Put any questions or comments down below. The recipe for how I did these carrots is in the show notes. Stay healthy, stay well, and I'll see you next time.